What's up? Thanks for tuning in to the Wildcaster postgame. I'm Alec White. He's Michael Lev. He's Justin Spears. And fellas, we had a dainty of a game go in for about 3 quarters, and then disaster struck for the Wildcats. Jordan McCloud suffering a right knee injury, right leg injury, knee injury. We aren't sure, but he was sacked, fumbled the ball, and was kind of sandwiched. His leg was sandwiched in between a couple UCLA defenders going to the ground. He was on the ground in lots of pain for a couple minutes, but this really turned the tide of not only the game, but really the course of the season. Justin, we're going to start with you.
Man,
We asked jedd-fisch about kind of this injury. What did you learn?
man, I learned that Arizona kind of had their answer at the quarterback spot, and then it was just taken away from them like that, right? You know, the first few games, Arizona was trying to find their quarterback. They experimented with Gunnar Cruz. That didn't work. They go with Will Plummer. It resulted in an historic loss to Northern Arizona. So you turn to a guy like Jordan McCloud on the road against Oregon. He manages the offense enough, but has 5 turnovers in that game. But he showed a lot of good stuff that the other quarterbacks didn't. So then Arizona trusts him to be the starting quarterback in this game against a pretty good UCLA defense. And Arizona had so many chances. I mean, they were right there in this game. And when Jordan McCloud was sacked and hurt, I mean, Arizona was only down by a touchdown. I mean, they had some momentum going their way. And then as the second he hit the turf and he was rolling over and not getting up, you just felt this deflation coming out of Arizona Stadium. The guys were deflated. Gunnar Cruz comes in, and it was like same old, same old. Gunnar Cruz continues to hold on to the ball, and he shows why he's not the guy that Arizona needs at a spot right at this point right now. So it's very tough. We always thought, maybe Arizona could get their, a win this season, and it's looking very murky for the Wildcats.
And Jordan McCloud, before the injury, like you were saying, he was playing some really good football. The mistakes he was making against Oregon were not there against UCLA. He was throwing the ball out of bounds. He was, making smart plays with the ball. Even though he didn't throw for a touchdown in this one, he was still showing that he has the capability to be efficient as a quarterback.
Yeah, it was very similar to Oregon, except, like you said, without the interceptions. Like, he was managing the game well. They were moving the chains. Justin tweeted out a third down stat of how much better they were converting third downs with Jordan McCloud at quarterback compared to anyone else at quarterback. Similar sort of issue on offense kept cropping up, which was get into the red zone, self-destruct, settle for a field goal, not coming away with touchdowns. None of that was Jordan McCloud's fault, right? It's not his fault that they had a false start. I don't know whose fault it was on that one errant snap. Like, it didn't look like he was quite ready for the ball to be snapped.
Yeah.
It got away from him. They had 3rd and 1 at the 15-yard penalty. It becomes 3rd and 16 at the 30. Kind of a weird, illegal block. Booby Curry, we talked to him after the game. He wasn't totally sure why that was a penalty. So a lot of sort of self-destructive tendencies on offense. But I think the shame of all this, and that is the word that jedd-fisch used, is that they seemingly found their quarterback, and now he's hurt.
Yeah.
And you knew it was bad because it was one of those deals where, the knee gets crunched and it causes you reflexively to lose the ball. It hurts that much. And poor Jordan McCloud, he was so excited about this opportunity. Finally, he had overcome kind of the late start that he had to his Arizona career. He seized the job. He's playing really well. You could just see the devastation on his face. There were tears streaming down his cheeks. Felt really bad for him. And now, here we are again in this
Square one.
Situation where we don't know what is going to happen. Jedd-fisch said Gunnar Cruz is going to be the quarterback moving forward. I think a lot of us are skeptical about Gunnar right now, right? Gunnar, he's got that one really bad habit, and it's a bad habit that's hard to break, and it's a bad habit that really bogs down the offense. And that's holding the ball too much, too long. Whether they can coach that out of him, I don't know.
Yeah. By the way, that third down stat that you were referring to.
Yeah.
So this was tweeted just a little bit before halftime. Third down conversions with Jordan McCloud versus without. With McCloud, 12 for 24. Without, 9 for 45. Obviously, we still need to adjust those numbers for, the second half. But, that really goes to show you how different this offense is with Jordan McCloud under center.
There's just there was a certain rhythm to it, right? The pace with which they played, it just was, they were much more efficient. I just like the, they had a certain snap to them, you know? And when Gunner's in there, like, I don't want to bag on Gunner, and hopefully he'll improve, but everything is slower.
No rhythm.
You know, and they don't have that kind of same rhythm. Like, Jordan, he gets the ball out of his hands, or he gets out of the pocket if he can't get the ball out of his hands. They did a really good job tonight of, if there was nothing there, throwing it away.
Yeah.
You know, we heard the referee explain multiple times why it wasn't intentional grounding, my favorite thing in the world. Thanks, Mr. Referee. We understand how the game works here. But he had to call that multiple times because Gunnar Cruz or Jordan McCloud did such a good job of throwing the ball away instead of putting it in harm's way.
Yeah.
And you know, that enabled them to get to the next down or not turn the ball over. They didn't punt until what? Third quarter, mid-third quarter. And they hadn't turned the ball over at that point either. You know, so that shows you they were moving the chains again. And it's really unfortunate that things have taken this turn.
Jedd-fisch said it's not a short-term injury for Jordan McCloud. We don't know how long the severity of it is yet. We'll know more on Monday after the MRI, and we'll get that information to you when it becomes available to us. But for now, it's up in the air for the quarterback situation. I mean, not necessarily up in the air. It's going to be Gunnar Cruz, but up in the air in terms of performance and confidence-wise. And if you're an Arizona fan and you're hoping to see Jamari Joyner under center after his touchdown pass night, you can kiss those dreams goodbye, because Jedd-fisch says that's not happening. He was asked about it, about the trick play and Joyner's potential to play more at the quarterback, and he just said nope.
Yeah, only touchdown pass of the night was thrown by a wide receiver.
How about that?
They again scored under 20 points. That's what, the 8th straight time they've been under 20. You know, you can make a case that the defense played okay, but when you look at that rushing stat, that's a big problem. 329 yards.
329.
Yeah, 329 yards for UCLA. Anthony Pandy, the linebacker, said after the game that it was mostly a case of missed tackles. I think it was more than that. I mean, they were getting to the edges quite a bit, and then they killed them up the middle late in the game. It was kind of a bend but don't break sort of scheme. I mean, they did a good job against DTR's Maria Thompson Robinson's passing. He only had 82 yards passing in the entire game. He was 8 for 19.
3 in the first half.
3 yards in the first half. But when you can't stop the run, you can't win a game most of the time. Unless you've got Khalil Tate on your side against Colorado in 2017, where, you know, your guys rushing for, what was it,
327.
327, countering Philip Lindsay's 295 or whatever he had. Really a huge problem for the defense if you can't stop the run. That's been, I would say, the biggest weakness the defense has had so far this season. Statistically, coming into this game, they're gonna have to figure something out. To stop that. Whether that's, you know, maybe you take more chances on defense, you bring a safety down into the box on more of a regular basis. I'll be very interested to talk to Don Brown on Tuesday to see what he has to say about the defense's performance against the run.
Well, speaking of Colorado, guys,
that
is where Arizona is next week. In Boulder, Michael Lev, you will be there to take that all in. What was going to be a potential good matchup for Arizona, where you felt actually good about Arizona's chance to win the game. Had Jordan McCloud not been injured, that kind of goes down the drain tonight.
They got to run the ball.
Yep.
They got to run the ball. And Stevie Rocker, I thought, had an impressive game tonight. I mean, he flashed that he can, you know, be a really solid back in this group. And, you know, Michael Wiley's a really good running back. He can catch out of the backfield. He can run out of the backfield. But those fumbles, man, that's his big thing. That's his biggest crutch right now. If he can eliminate that, and if Drake Anderson can kind of continue to be what he's been able to do this year, I mean, I like this running back group. And at this point, with the quarterback issues back to square one, you got to rely on those guys. Those guys have to be Arizona's bread and butter moving forward.
I would rate their rushing performance tonight as above average considering the competition. Right, UCLA had the #1 run defense in the Pac-12 coming into the game. I think Arizona ended up with around 120 rushing yards or so. They had to get out of that mode in the fourth quarter once they got down by more than one score. They had to throw at that point in the game. But I agree with you. It's got to be a run-heavy attack.
Yeah.
That's the best way for them to move the ball. At this point, they were more run-heavy. They were more patient with the run with Jordan McCloud in there. I really liked the balance that they had discovered. I liked, like I said earlier, the rhythm that they were playing with on offense, and it's the best. It's the best the offense has looked. Right, I'd say the end of the NAU game, that last drive, the entirety of the Oregon game, excepting taking out the interceptions, and then the first 3 quarters of this game. Right, not a ton of points. Like, they weren't scoring like crazy, but they were moving the ball. They were converting third downs, as you mentioned earlier, and they've got to find a way to do that without Jordan McCloud. It certainly doesn't look like he's going to be back anytime soon.
2 things before we go. The tight end usage. We told you guys to keep out for the tight end usage. It didn't really come to fruition.
There were 2 plays called back by penalty.
There were.
Right.
But they were at least more involved in the passing game, run blocking, some of those bubble screens.
They were blocking.
That was a nice adjustment that they made.
Yeah. Good plays.
Yep.
And then UCLA ran the cover play, guys. We talked about the 16-point spread.
Bad beat.
Arizona.
I mean, look, this was not an 18-point game, right? I don't think Oregon was a 22-point game.
Yeah.
I mean, other teams are pulling away in the fourth quarter. Arizona's right there. Whether they can get over the hump without Jordan McCloud, I'm not sure.
All right. Well, we'll see what happens next week in Boulder. But for now, you can follow us on the Wildcaster and download the Wildcaster app for free Arizona Wildcats content. And if you're a basketball fan watching football content, we've got good news for you, because we're going to be having some basketball stuff coming around the corner soon. Season starts in about a month.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you're disheartened about the result tonight, you've got that to look forward to. But in the meantime,
got to remind everybody, basketball season's on the horizon after an Arizona football loss.
Today, baseball starts in late February.
It is.
So.
All right, he's Michael Lev. I'm Alec White. He's Justin Spears. We're signing off from Arizona Stadium. We'll see you again soon.
Download the app.